Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Experian today for our webinar on data maturity. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you to, one, use the Q&A function to submit any questions, and we'll cover them at the end. The webinar is being recorded, and for the recording with the slides will be circulated in the next few days. There will be 3 poll questions at different times in the webinar, which it would be great if you could answer. And make sure to write down your answers for the poll questions so you can see your score, and at the end we will determine where you land on that data maturity curve. Today we will dive into our latest findings from this year's research. This year we surveyed over 500 business leaders in the US on their journey to become a data-driven culture, how they are investing in data management programs, and how the data experience will be a key part of tomorrow's data mature organization. Before we jump in, we wanted to first introduce ourselves. My name is Jordan Tetler. I am the Senior Marketing Specialist for Experian's Data Quality Business in North America. I'm based out of Boston and lead the Global Market Research and Thought Leadership programs for Experian's Data Quality Business. And today I have Jeff Hawks here with me, so I'll pass it to you, Jeff, to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jordan. Hi, everyone. I'm a director in product here with Experian. I've been with the company for a little over 3 years now, and I specialize in consumer credit reporting, identity resolution, and data quality. Jordan and I are really excited to share the results of our research and hopefully provide some key insights that you can take back to your organization.
Thanks, Jeff. So today we will quickly discuss how we approach our research, what data quality looks like today, how organizations are investing in their data management, and what the future of a data-driven organization looks like. As a reminder, we do have those poll questions that will help you determine where you land on our data maturity scale. So make sure to write down your answers to those, and maybe we can find out how Experian can help you as well. In the month of May, we surveyed over 500 managers in U.S. organizations who had visibility or knowledge over customer and prospect data management practices. Of these 500 managers, the majority sat in managerial, C-level, or director-level roles, and in departments like IT, data analytics, and operations. In this research, we will look at the journey that organizations take to become data mature, and we'll look at the strategy that organizations took over the last year, the impact they've seen so far, and the areas that they continue to invest in 2021 and beyond. So let's get started. Our research found that, yes, data management does impact business growth. We'll unpack exactly what this means throughout the webinar. To begin, data maturity becomes increasingly important as we talk about data management's effect on business financial growth and competitiveness. Today, organizations continue to face challenges that arise from the COVID-19 pandemic. Organizations aren't just trying to keep up with consumer buying behaviors and digital transformation, but they're also trying to adapt to daily changes to regulations and CDC recommendations. What we found is that the pandemic has revealed how important data quality is to adapt to a changing market and work environment. And in that, many organizations realized how important their data quality actually was. So they've refocused their priorities on getting control of their data quality and have begun investing more. Investing in data quality solutions help organizations improve their data maturity. The more mature one becomes, the more flexibility they have to be data-driven across multiple business functions and more likely to see growth. Jeff will touch on this on the next slide. The last thing I want to touch on is the data experience. This is the trend that we are seeing that is supporting the future of a data-driven culture. The data experience is defined as the experience of the business users and data experts alike, managing and leveraging the data within the organization. Now, for those of you who are just exploring data management and looking to ramp it up, this may seem like a lot already, and that's okay. The point is that all of this information can be considered upfront to help you progress through that data maturity scale. And with that, I'll now pass it to Jeff to show you just how we define data maturity at Experian.
Thanks, Jordan. Like you mentioned, this slide shows how we, Experian, define the data maturity curve. So in summary, the data maturity curve is a way to assess and categorize organizations into one of 4 groups based on their level of data maturity, where we define data maturity as the ability to quickly, efficiently, and accurately ingest, control, and activate data for business processes. This curve aligns with many of the analysts' approach to a data maturity curve, though some of the terms might slightly differ. So at Experian, we define the categories as underdeveloped, reactive, proactive, or optimized. Again, the purpose of this data maturity curve is to better understand your organization's current state and then be able to implement best practices and strategies to move to the right side, should that be an objective for your company. And just to quickly touch on these categories, underdeveloped is really the starting point. Data may not be that critical to operations, or there's not a strong emphasis on data quality. We don't really see too many clients fall within this underdeveloped space. We start to see more in reactive and proactive. In reactive, data quality initiatives and strategy are really typically ad hoc and as needed. So we see lots of batch or bulk validations and one-time data enrichments. Moving into proactive, these customers would have more continual data quality management. Ingestion rules are starting to emerge, and data hygiene is done on a more routine basis. And then the last tier is optimized, where strategy, people, and technology are all scaled for continual data quality monitoring, cleansing, and reporting. The distribution of organizations on this curve would look like a bell curve, where the majority of organizations fall within reactive or proactive, and then tail in both directions underdeveloped and optimized. So as we move through the presentation today, we'll refer back to this data quality maturity curve and break down a lot of the research findings so that you can see how those proactive and optimized clients responded to the survey. And then additionally, like Jordan mentioned, we'll provide you the opportunity to assess your organization's current state through our polling questions. So the next slide represents the survey results around the top benefits experienced by data mature organizations. The survey showed that 93% of those surveyed within the proactive and optimized categories have seen positive business outcomes as a result of increased investment in data management. And you can see what those business outcomes are, with better decision-making and operational efficiency having the highest impact across the surveyed group. And those 2 subjects might seem like generalities, but they're really critical for business operations, especially because high quality data enables strategy. And those proactive and optimized organizations are achieving better business outcomes, as Jordan mentioned in the earlier slide. And this really ties into being able to trust data quality, and that shouldn't be taken for granted, as the effects of poor data quality can severely impact business. So for example, supply chain is a huge topic these days. And what happens to demand planning if there's a typo in a data set and there's an extra digit, or even worse, a digit missing? That could be catastrophic downstream. Or if the inventory date received is listed as 2012 instead of 2021. High quality data matters to all industries. And again, those that are investing in data quality are recognizing the real benefits. So we'd be remiss to not spend some time on data quality in the COVID era. So we're gonna, now that we've set the stage with defining our research approach, introduced the data quality maturity curve, and highlighted the benefits experienced by data mature organizations, we're gonna spend some time and hear what your peers are doing and experiencing with data quality in the COVID era. As we started to see in our global research this past year, data played a huge role in enabling business agility. And that's helping the organizations to respond to the numerous and varied challenges caused by the pandemic, like moving to an entirely virtual workforce, and also dealing with your customers who have also moved to an entirely virtual workforce. Our research found that 82% of those surveyed believe that their current data management maturity approach helped in their response to the challenges faced in the pandemic. And then again, among the proactive and optimized clients, that number rose to 89%. We also saw that 9 out of 10 respondents saw that investing in data quality is even more important now compared to 12 months ago. So even as we're starting to come out of the pandemic, the impact and importance of data quality management will continue. Kind of surprising, even though 90% saw benefits in high quality data in COVID response and see the investments as important, only 61% have plans to accelerate their data management programs due to COVID-19. And this increases to 72% for that more mature group. This could be because organizations are committed to their current data quality management approaches. They don't have capacity to take on more, or they have already made the investments and are waiting to see the results prior to investing further. And I think the next slide actually supports that hypothesis. So we found that 92% of those surveyed indicated that they did invest in data management already in the last 12 months, with half of them considering themselves to be heavy data investors. So as mentioned, it can be inferred that organizations made the investments and now will be monitoring the results as opposed to accelerating their data management investments. Within Experian, one of the most reoccurring themes in data management throughout the pandemic is the need for more verified contact data for customers, and Jordan will touch on this later as well. We call these data enrichment or data validation services and are able to return various pieces of customer contact data based on various pieces of initial data. So for example, organizations that have a phone number, but they need name and address, we can append that. Or if you have a name and need an email, we can do that as well. Address is a huge, as well as email, are both big right now, especially with the transition to shipping and delivery of goods and services. We just started working with the new company on trying to help them with their address data. And we had a quote from their marketing manager: "We are a new internet company building out services in multiple states. We had a recent mailing that had a ton of returns for various reasons, as stated by the USPS." This is a really typical use case that we see all the time. And luckily, the ROI for address validation is really easy to calculate. The first class postage is now 58 cents, and the cost of a return package can be as high as $18. So by eliminating return mail, we can help customers achieve immediate benefits. In addition to address, like I said, email and phone number validation has been equally as important to organizations over the last 12 months, email especially, and we're going to touch on that more in some later slides. Business agility in the pandemic was a huge driver for maintaining clean data and going out and getting new data assets. That contact data is so important. However, the pandemic has also led to fundamental shifts in consumer shopping behavior. Digital first strategies have been vastly accelerated, and how customers receive their goods and services has shifted with delivery of goods and services like DoorDash and others that will bring it right to you. This stat indicates that 3/4 of the surveyed group believe that improvements in data management are needed in the next 12 months to just remain competitive. So again, pandemic or not, data quality management is foundational to enabling strategy as well as innovation that will allow your company to remain competitive. The next slide shows our top three priority areas we saw, the top three priority areas that the survey group indicates need to be addressed to progress on that data maturity curve. 2/3 of the respondents believe that investments in technology are needed. And this is not surprising, as we're seeing just the massive quantities of data accelerate even more. We're seeing customers purchasing data sets, merging internal siloed data, or even looking to share data sets. And tools are definitely needed to organize and gain insights into all those new data assets. Skills and strategy were the other top two vote getters. And it was really great to see these because it takes all three to make a data mature organization. If your staff cannot use the data and the tools to gain deep insights and formulate and deploy strategy, the organization is really missing a key piece in the equation. So if you're looking for tactical steps to move up the data maturity curve, according to your kind of proactive and optimized peers, these are areas worth looking at for investment.
And this is why we're here today, and so excited to share our data maturity curve with you. This can give you that guidance on what steps to take in your data journey and that plan that Jeff just mentioned. This gives you that checklist on what you need to invest in to improve your data so you can be a fully operational, data-driven organization, and one that we think your competitors will try to keep up with.
With that, we're going to pause and ask our first of 3 poll questions that will give you an idea of where your organization is today on that data maturity curve. So for the first question, think about your organization's attitude and approach to clean, accurate data. In aggregate, how is the importance of accurate, clean data perceived by your organization? So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being accurate data is perceived as not that important or business critical, and 5 being that data accuracy is thought to be entirely business critical. Please take a few seconds to respond here.
Thank you all for submitting your answers. These questions not only help us gauge how we can better help you on your data journey, but also this will help you determine where you land on our data maturity curve. So we've been talking about these organizations who have been investing in data over the last year. In this section, we'll dive into where these organizations are investing their funds, time, and resources. Like we just mentioned, think of this curve as your guide to improving data quality and where you can start investing to move up that curve. If you answered 1 for the last poll question, chances are you land in the underdeveloped stage of our maturity curve. And if you answered 5, you are probably up in the optimized section and have a fully functioning data program that you continue to invest in because why? Well, you're seeing the results and the benefits. So if we look at this from the view of where your investment could be, an organization that lands in the reactive stage may be considering contact data validation as a quick win solution for siloed projects like an email marketing campaign or a sales call day. Whereas an organization who may be more proactive with their data management, they may be considering investing in data quality integrations so they can start capturing valid email addresses and phone numbers at the point of entry in their e-commerce platform or CRM database. And when we look at the optimized category, we'll probably find organizations investing in initiatives like identity resolution. Over the next few slides, we will take a look at how organizations have been investing in their data and where you should consider too. For organizations who have been investing more in data management and moving up the curve in some fashion, they've been focusing on areas like data quality, digital transformation, and moving data to the cloud over the last year. What you see on your screen now is a very generalized lens in terms of where these initiatives may be focus areas for certain maturity levels. In our experience, it's more common for an organization in the optimized or proactive state to be focusing on moving data to the cloud than earlier on in their journey. But this isn't to say that organizations landing in the underdeveloped or reactive stages are the only ones investing in data quality. More proactive or optimized programs may be just getting started on quality control over their data. And really anyone may be looking at ramping up or improving their digital channels. Digital transformation was one topic I want to dive a little deeper into here. I know this has been a buzzword for some time now, but it's increasingly important as we continue to face the challenges of the pandemic and continue to stay connected with new and existing clients. I know for me, I've seen quite a few retailers ramp up their e-commerce strategy in some fashion. Almost all of the brands I shop with now have simplified their checkout process that it takes me significantly less time to fill out my information, confirm my order, and hit checkout. My address can automatically completed with only a few keystrokes, which is really cool and sometimes makes me shop more. For instance, there is this small retailer near me who sells stationery items. For the longest time, they were just one location store with no online presence, but now they just opened up their third shop and have a full-blown e-commerce site. What's great is that the checkout process is as easy and simple as it is for big brand retailers. So now the smaller guys have a chance to compete with these top brands and reach a larger audience. And from the retailer's perspective, they now have the confidence that they have the right contact information under me, Jordan Tetler, their customer, so they can continue to reach me to provide a good customer experience and open the doors to further market opportunities. One more thing to note here is that online applications aren't just for retailers ramping up their digital channels, but this could also go for online baking services, online food delivery, and so on. Take a second to consider the areas that you have invested over the last year, if any. Do you fall into one or more of these categories? Did you invest more in your data program because of the pandemic and the market shift that you are experiencing? Just some things to think about as you start to discuss where funds are going in data initiatives in the next year. You may find that there are similarities between where you invested in your data program in the last year compared to our respondents. Now let's talk about where these organizations are focusing their investments today and in the next 12 months. Circling back to earlier in the section, we talked about a plan and how the curve can be used as guidance to improving data quality. Here we can pinpoint exactly where other organizations are investing in their data program and where you can too. Again, we've generalized what technology each stage of the curve might be interested in. We wouldn't be surprised if an organization in optimal data maturity invests in data quality technology, but it may be a lot for an underdeveloped organization to be thinking about the data experience when they don't have the technology or the right resources yet. Overall, we find that over the next year, organizations are focused on investing in data quality technology, integrated data management technology, business-wide data management best practices, and improving the data experience for users. I want to unpack the concept of integrated data management technology a little more. Even for Experian, we find that our customers are looking for that one-stop shop type solution to minimize silos across their business. When you integrate data quality control, or more specifically, real-time contact data validation, into the entry points of your e-commerce and/or CRM platforms, you're not only creating efficiencies and minimizing the risk of human error, but you can also increase collaboration across the business and be confident that you're always capturing accurate, verified contact data. And just as a side note, we just did a webinar on how to eliminate the effects of poor CRM data, so feel free to go check that out on edq.com or reach out to us for more on that topic. Once the data hits the desk of the data team, IT, or business users, it's important to have established best practices. That way, there's a common understanding within the organization of how to manage and leverage the data. This will help establish a way of common language and approach to communicating and collaborating with the data, and in turn, you can improve that data experience. But with anything, there are always challenges, and I'm sure everyone has had their fair share of challenges this past year with the pandemic. Overall, we find that organizations are facing barriers like a lack of data skills and resources, cultural resistance to change, and finding suitable vendors and partners when they increase their investment in data. From my perspective, I think everyone can relate to these challenges on some level, no matter where you land on the maturity curve. A lack of data skills and resources may be felt more if you have an underdeveloped or reactive program, but optimized programs will still feel this gap as well. The data skills gap is a really important topic that we could do a whole other webinar on. Enabling data professionals, IT, and business users alike with the data literacy program goes beyond just teaching a new skill set and how to use the technology. This can also reduce cultural resistance to change when moving toward a data-driven culture. And lastly, finding suitable vendors and partners. This can be tied back to the data management integrations that organizations are investing in. Experian has partnerships like Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Salesforce Lightning, Adobe's Magento Commerce, and so on, to enable our clients to have data validation solutions in their major e-commerce and CRM platforms. If you look for vendors and partnerships like this, there's a chance you can minimize this roadblock.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. So this brings us to our next poll question, and where the first question was mainly focused on organizational strategy and focus, the second is more tactical. So is your organization investing in the people, technology, and skills needed to improve data quality and data management? On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being you don't need to or don't plan on investing, and 5 being that you're making significant investments, please take a minute to respond. All right, thanks for your responses. We'll have one more question, and then we'll be able to help you score and determine where your organization may fall on that data quality maturity curve. We've shared a lot of stats and findings on how your peers are investing and the benefits of improving your organization's data maturity. Now we're going to shift to look at some of the emerging trends and use cases. The first trend is around data experience, or the process by which business users and data experts manage and leverage the data within the organization. 85% of the surveyed group say that they are increasingly focused on the data experience to become more data-driven as a business. And so what does this look like? It means that organizations are looking to implement easy-to-use data management tools. They need to achieve high levels of trust in quality of data. Trust is a huge thing. Being able to trust your data and make decisions based off of high-quality data is super critical across the board. And then data visualization tools will help enable insight so that those insights can be easily communicated and formulated into a strategy. The tools and technology needs to be fully integrated to remove data silos. And agile and flexible access needs to be scaled as needed to permission and allow more users. Having a great data experience makes data more valuable and increases the benefits across the entire organization.
Just to chime in here quickly, an example of this is found in our own marketing team at Experian. Traditionally, we aren't data professionals, but we are a very data-oriented and results-driven team and business, really. Having access to our CRM database and data visualization tools, we are able to see just how our team impacts performance for the rest of our business and bridges the gap between departments like our marketing team, product, sales, sales ops, and so on. We can all look at the same data, be on the same page, and make a plan if we need. And with that, actually, this brings us to our next concept, access to data and data usage. Data democratization is an important part of the data experience, as it is defined as increasing access to data and insights to a wider range of roles across the business. Actually, in last year's research, we took a deeper dive into this concept of data democratization and found that it is underpinned by data literacy and data ops, all of which goes back to that concept of having trust in data quality, which Jeff just mentioned. If you're interested in that research, feel free to check it out at edq.com under resources, or again, feel free to contact us. Data democratization or data accessibility continues to be essential to a data management program and the data experience. To be successful at democratizing data, an organization needs to think about how to increase data usage across the business. You can scale data usage by implementing better technology that is easy to use, improving the data experience for users, improving data transparency, and like we said, creating more trust in data through improved data quality. Think about it this way. How do you use data in your role today? And if that data was inaccurate, how would it impact your performance? Trust in information is critical. So if you want to democratize your data and work on the data experience, the first thing you need to do is to think about how trustworthy and reliable the insights are. One of our customers has said recently, quote, "We would like to be confident that our data has been deduped, addresses corrected properly, and contact information is correct. After we do mailings, not only do we have some mail returns, but we also do an internal calling program to find out later that the contact information was incorrect or the phone number was incorrect. We purchase a lot of mailing lists based on SIC codes from list brokers, so we need additional cleansing of that data." This was by a marketing director from a public sector organization. So you can see from all of these use cases that the client mentioned that different segments of the organization will be reliant upon the data. This is where data democratization and data experience becomes important. So all the key stakeholders have access to the right information and ability to share it out while having a seamless experience while doing so. Improving data quality starts with data validation, and we get into this on the next slide. Our research finds that 87% of organizations say it is important that they improve their data quality to become more data-driven as a business in 2021 and beyond. To do this, organizations are looking to their contact data. Almost everyone we surveyed say the quality of contact data has become more important over the last 12 months. Not only does high-quality contact data impact top business priorities like customer experience and data security, but this is where you can start building trust between your team members and the data they use, which will ultimately motivate them to leverage data in their day-to-day work because it will help improve their performance. Broken down, the types of contact data that have become more important over the last 12 months include email data, identity data, which in this case is name and date of birth, phone data, and address data. Think about what we just discussed on the last slide and how data can impact the performance of your role and your business. And data as simple as contact information like name, email, address, and phone data, really consider what are the different areas contact data can play a crucial role in your day-to-day operations, from sales outreach to marketing campaigns, distribution, customer service calls. This contact information goes beyond just reaching your customers one time. With this, you have multiple channels to reach your customers and better understand who your customers are.
Just to add a bit of color here on contact information, email is emerging as a hugely important data element. With the deprecation of the third-party cookie, we're seeing email can be used for a key in matching online to offline identities. With current collection rules, companies are forbidden from emailing business addresses. And in some digital flows, email can be the only identity element you have for your customer. We have several solutions and products that can cleanse and append email addresses, or use email addresses to append offline contact data to your data sets as well. We can also identify business versus personal email addresses. So if that's important or any of those challenges exist and you want to learn more, please feel free to reach out to us on our email solutions.
You bring up an interesting point, Jeff. One example I think about is how contact data can be used for personalization. That can go really wrong or really right. For instance, sometimes I get emails where they say, "Hello, Jordan," but they totally spell my name wrong, so I delete the email.
Exactly, Jordan. I love the anecdote you gave earlier about data quality and data management being able to help a small retailer compete. So on the flip side, data can be a really positive data asset to allow kind of equity across small, medium-sized businesses to compete with larger retailers. And one more example of kind of the ability to tie online to offline identifiers and contact data. Just this week, I received another pre-screen offer in the mail that was meant for my sister, and she doesn't and never has lived at my address. So between Jordan's example of not being able to tie online to offline identifiers and this example of poor contact data for the consumer, those are just two quick examples that show how inaccurate contact data can hurt organizations in both brand perception as well as reduction in ROI associated with that marketing spend.
Circling back to the data experience and data democratization for a second, providing access to this type of information to your leaders, sales reps, marketers, customer call reps can go a long way in giving crucial information to better daily performance, which in turn will gradually build trust in those insights so they are used more. And that you can probably minimize the risk of the examples Jeff and I just mentioned. When there is trust in data and the data is being used properly, that is when you start to see ROI on your data initiatives. So what happens if you do nothing at all? The three biggest consequences of not having accurate data insight across the business are employee frustration, 2, inefficiency or added workload, 3, wasted budget or resources. I like to point out that these are probably not things you want to stir up in the normal world, never mind today's economy. There's a chance you may be dealing with tight budgets these days, but remember that doing something is better than doing nothing. Even if you start with a bulk upload data cleanse of one of your databases before a campaign, or you just do an analysis of the state of your database. Again, doing something is better than doing nothing. Having insight into what your data looks like today and doing a quick cleanse can save you money now and in the long run.
Okay, this brings us to our last poll question, and it is around contact data. So if 30% of your customer contact data, names, addresses, emails, phone numbers, was inaccurate, when would you be able to identify them for remediation? So a bit more complex than the scale this time. So please answer where 1 equals we would never be able to identify them, 2 equals through return mail or bounced emails, 3 through consumer complaints, 4 routine audit procedures should correct the issues on cadence, and 5 being existing practices and processes would identify and correct the issues before any negative effects. So as you answer, think back to those examples Jordan and I gave a couple slides back, where neither of us informed the company or companies of incorrect contact data. So they might actually fall in as a 1 on this scale. And we'll give you another second. All right, so as we look to wrap up, hopefully you've written down your numbers for the poll questions. If you didn't, they will be shown again on the next slide. And again, the data maturity curve is meant to be a quick self-assessment to see where your organization may be today. And then the research and content that we've shared here can help formulate your next steps, see what your peers are doing to move up that curve if that's important to your organization. So to score the poll questions, all we need to do is a quick average on the 3 numbers. And again, this is a down and dirty webinar questionnaire, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you scored a 1, your organization is most likely in the underdeveloped stage. 2 is typical of reactive. 3 and 4 are proactive. And 5 is optimized. So we don't have the combined stats yet on where the audience falls today, but as a couple highlights, for question 1, 48% of the audience said that accurate data was perceived by the business as critical to the organization, with 39% breaking it a 4. So 4s and 5s represented 88% of the response. For question 2, 33% of our audience, the majority, scored a 3 and when they said that they are investing in people, technology, and or skills needed to improve data quality. So likely existing approaches are working. And then question 3 is coming across right now. So again, the question was around how and when would you be able to identify inaccurate data? And 50% said through return mail or bounced emails. So we talked about this earlier. Return mail is a really easy one to correct. Before mail campaigns, we can run address validation, flag those addresses that are not deliverable according to the USPS, and avoid those return mail costs. So again, great responses. Thank you all for participating. The questions around data maturity are obviously subjective. And again, we had 3 questions just to give you a rough idea to where you might stand on the data maturity curve. As this audience is mostly likely data-driven and kind of higher on that data quality maturity curve, we wanted to wrap up by showing our data quality report card. And this data quality report card is performed on your own data and will provide key insights into your data sets by performing data profiling analysis, which is fill rates, uniqueness. We'll do a duplicate analysis, which again can show you where you have multiple records associated with the same person in your data sets. Address validation, we just talked about address validation. So if your file has addresses, we can run the analytics on it. And then frequently occurring field analysis. Clients find this highly effective in gaining key insights in a really simple, straightforward process and report. We don't return any PII or data with this report card, so it is only aggregated statistics. But we've been able to help clients identify where test data has been included in production within their data warehouses. So if we see test or pricing check or 123 Main Street over and over again, that could indicate that there's test data in production. We've identified potentially fraudulent addresses where hundreds of accounts were attributed to a single residence, and then a lot more insight. So it's a really simple report card, but the insights gained can really be extrapolated to help you develop your strategy. So if you're interested in running a data quality report card, really easy process, just please reach out and we can talk to you about the next steps.
Thanks, Jeff. So firstly, we want to thank you for joining us today for our webinar. Before we get to the Q&A portion, we want to do a quick snapshot on what you can walk away with from today. Number 1 is data maturity is essential to today as it helps steer you toward growth. Even during unpredictable times, data maturity can act as a guide for you to consider action items against important components like technology, people, and skills, and strategy. Use the data quality maturity scale as a guide or checklist to see what areas you can invest in to get you closer to an optimal program for your organization. Over the last year, organizations have been increasingly investing in data management because they are seeing positive outcomes in the areas like decision-making, operational efficiency, and customer experience. And for those heavy data investors, the people that have invested more in their data recently, they've seen benefits like revenue growth, cost savings, and innovation. Start by getting a handle on your data quality, whether that means you get a data report card like Jeff just shared, contact data validation solution, data validation integrations, or go all out with a data quality platform. We've mentioned it a few times in this webinar, but if you are interested in any of these, definitely feel free to reach out to us and we can help you. And lastly, the future is backed by data quality. Organizations are looking to improve the overall data experience for users through better technology and providing access to data across a wider range of roles, encompassing a true data-driven culture. Consider the technology you have today that enables data quality, and if you want to invest more in that, then think about how you can enable and empower your team to use that data effectively. Today, we took a deep dive into the research and how organizations are looking at their data maturity. You can learn more about that data-driven strategy behind business growth in our research report, which is downloadable on your webinar screen, or you can go to edq.com and access it there. So make sure to take a look. It's a really great report. And now it's time for our Q&A session. So feel free to submit any questions using the Q&A function on your screen. And we're actually already seeing a few come through. All right, so the first one we have here, what is the relationship between data democratization and the data experience? I can take that one. So data democratization and data experience do seem similar, and they certainly complement each other. I would think of data experience as the umbrella concept that talks about what the overall experience is like to manage and leverage data for users, those users being data professionals, IT, and business users. While data democratization layers into this as a way to increase access to a wider range of roles. So to have an optimal data experience, you need to grant your users access to that data. Let's see. Okay, so Jeff, I'm going to pull you into this one. The question is, how can I use data to digitally transform my business?
That's a big question. I think the first step is understanding where you are, and then using those insights that you've gained to formulate your strategy. So we work with a lot right now, obviously, seamless applications, seamless sign up is a huge issue in formulating your digital first strategy. So figuring out how much are you going to pre-fill versus how much do you want the consumer to answer? What kind of fallout are you going to see? Are you trying to increase funnel? Are you trying to get consumers that are serious about moving forward? So all those strategies, they start with data and analysis of that data, and then trying to formulate your strategies off of the analysis. So a little bit of a rambling response, but I think the first step is understanding where you are today through data analysis, and then formulating your strategy, and then tactically working on what are those solutions and experiences that you want to test with your digital experience.
Awesome. All right, so the next one, Jeff, I think we can tag team. The question is, I'm in financial services, and I think my organization lands in the reactive stage on the data quality maturity scale. What steps should I take to get my organization to the proactive part of the curve? The first thing I would add is to make sure you start by getting buy-in from your leaders. Show them how better data management can help them increase ROI and how it can help improve individual performance for your business users. So we find that business users want access to data because they truly believe it helps them better perform, especially in a remote environment. But of course, that motivation to start leveraging that data to get programs in place like data literacy and technology and hiring for those right data roles comes from the top down. So definitely buy-in from your leaders. Jeff, anything to add?
Yeah, I think financial services is very complex because of the different objectives of the business. So having regulated data and processes for audits processes for data quality reporting is account management, servicing your existing portfolio is kind of separate and should be separate from true marketing efforts. So I think moving from reactive to proactive, you kind of need to, in financial services anyway, understand what are your objectives, how are you able to remove silos, what silos do you need to keep, and then, like you said, Jordan, formulate the strategy and go from there and continually monitor the results.
Awesome. All right, so I think we have time for one or two more questions. Jeff, this is a really good one. So the question is, where do you see most clients sitting on the maturity curve? And what are those clients doing when they're sitting on the optimized part of the curve?
Yeah, so we mentioned that it looks like a bell curve. So obviously the majority of clients fall in reactive and proactive, and then the tails towards optimized and underdeveloped. So optimized clients, what we typically see is data quality is deeply ingrained into the organization. So there are platforms and processes and audits and continual maintenance happening on those files, on those data sets, so that there is ultimate trust in the data. So, you know, some of the larger clients you might think of, or larger institutions you might think are optimized, but also some smaller do data management very well. So it's not necessarily tied to the size of the organization. It's more about having complete control of your data so that you can activate and get and reach your business objectives.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. So I have one more for you, or for the both of us, but it's around the data report card. The question is, if we're interested in the data report card or your services, who do I reach out to? So if you go on
go ahead.
to, oh, no, you can go for it, Jeff.
Oh, no. So you can reach out to sales. You can reach out to Jordan and I directly, or I think Jordan probably has a better process than that. But I would say any of us are more than capable of getting you pointed in the right direction.
Yes, feel free to reach out to any of us. You can also go to edq.com, and there's a contact us page. So feel free to submit your information there to get a hold of us. Great. So I think that's all we have time for today. That's all we've seen come through. Again, any questions, reach out to Jeff or I, our sales team. You can go to edq.com/contact us to connect. But we thank you so much for joining us today and talking about data maturity. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you so much.